Most audience members probably won't give much consideration to the engagement ring that Lucy May Barker wears as the character Sophie in Mamma Mia, now playing at the Edinburgh Theatre. After all, the show is all about Sophie's upcoming marriage to her boyfriend Sky. That's not just any prop sparkler, however, but a ring given to Barker by Philip Ryan, the actor who plays Sky. The pair became a couple while performing the show and got engaged 5 weeks ago. Life has imitated art for Lucy May Barker and Philip Ryan, who play Sophie and Sky in the touring production of Mamma Mia, now in Toronto and are also engaged in real life. Steve Russell, Toronto star, I met Lucy and Philip between the matinee and evening performances of Mamma Mia, this past Thursday, the first day of the Toronto run for this international touring company. I usually interview spectators rather than performers for the At the Theatre with column, but this story was too delicious to pass up. How did these colleagues become sweethearts, and what is it like to not pretend to be in love for 8 performances a week? The pair are bursting with excitement about being in Toronto and for the tour's onward journey to 6 locations in Asia including Jakarta, Singapore and Hong Kong. Article continued below. While young, she's 26 and he's 28, they've been leading grown-up lives for a while. Barker, from Lincoln in the English Midlands, has been acting professionally since she played the title role in a UK tour of Annie as a preteen. Ryan left Montrose, his Scottish hometown, at 16 to train as a rugby player and fell into acting after he suffered a sports injury and auditioned on a whim for an Edinburgh theatre school, and got in with a full scholarship. Mamma Mia has been an absolute life-changer, says Barker, for reasons both professional and personal. It's the whole reason why we met and it's the whole reason why our lives are where they are now. Theirs was not love's young dream from the beginning, however. They first met in October 2015 while auditioning for the show and clearly had sufficient chemistry as well as talent to land the roles. But Barker initially, I wasn't a fan of her co-star. In this industry you meet so many people who are not what they seem, she says. So many people in show business spend their whole personal life also putting on a show, therefore they're not authentic, genuine people. Phil is so lovely and so genuine that me being the cynical person that I am / was 3 years ago, I just didn't believe it. Ryan has less stage time and fewer singing responsibilities than Barker does in the show. He acknowledges that in trying to make a friendship with her, sometimes I pushed a little too much and thought she was being a bit standoffish, a bit cold, but after 6 months of touring, something clicked for Barker while they were having a meal with Mamma Mia colleagues at a Chinese restaurant in Birmingham. I was suddenly like, he's really cute, and he's really sweet. Bringing her cups of green tea backstage was part of the key to her heart. Article continued below. These started hanging out more and then, says Ryan, I stayed over one night and never left. We are so lucky to be working together and getting to spend as much time together as we do, says Ryan, while acknowledging that this has a flip side. Their lives being so intertwined can be overwhelming. There's only been one time when they had to canoodle on stage while being in a real-life fight. My parents were watching for my mom's birthday, remembers Barker, and they came backstage and said, oh, it just gets better every time, and I said, we've had a row. The fact that off-stage tensions didn't show in the performances where the line needs to be, says Ryan. Relationships happen and people get close and that's great, but the minute you come through the stage door that's where it stops. That's where it stays. You're paid to do a job. Singing ABBA at each other does sort of help to dissipate an argument, adds Barker. Read more. Mamma Mia still gets audience seat dancing 18 years after its Toronto debut. Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again gets by on ABBA's not quite greatest hits. Earlier this year the couple bought a house together in Margate, a seaside town in Kent. Ryan had been planning to propose for a while, designing the engagement ring himself and then giving it to their stage manager Jack Chandler to hold on to because he was worried he'd misplace it. Finally being settled convinced him the time was right and he popped the question one evening as they sat on the beach near their new home. They told their real-life families immediately and then let their Mamma Mia family know on the first day of rehearsals for this tour. "I have this image. I wish someone filmed it, of all the girls in the company screaming and running toward me," says Barker. "That was lush. That was so nice. When the contracts for this tour finish next April, will this be the end of their Mamma Mia journey? I never say never," says Ryan. "I watched the second movie and I watched some of our cover runs, rehearsals for understudies, and you just have so much love for this show and the people doing it. The only reason I would say never is because I'm 26 trying to play a 20-year-old, says Barker. "There is an expiry date, I think. Sky can be any age before the time to make that decision arrives. They are making the most of their time abroad." Job 1 in Toronto. Seeing come from away. The pair came into town a few days early to catch the Canadian cast at the Royal Alexandra, having first seen the hit musical in New York. "It's one of the only shows I've seen where I forget I am an actor," says Barker. "I get completely immersed in it." Having chatted with them for several hours along with company manager Ben Jefferson over an early dinner at the Senator restaurant, "I felt like I was watching Friends as they sang, played and smooched on the Ed Mirvish stage that evening. There's very little difference between these sweet and lovely young people on stage and off, except for maybe the fact that Sophie and Sky end up bailing out of their wedding, whereas, for Lucy and Philip, that rock is real." Mamma Mia plays at the Ed Mirvish Theatre through August 19. See mirvish.com or call 416-872-1212 or 1-800-461-3333. At the Theatre With is an occasional series in which theatre critic Karen Fricker brings people with specialist perspectives to performances. Fricker is a Toronto-based theatre critic and a freelance contributor for The Star. Follow her on Twitter, @KarenFricker2.